Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Girls Like Hoops podcast. I'm Tori. I hope you guys are having a great week. I do want to thank you guys so much for listening and watching and supporting, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, wherever you listen. I really appreciate you. I didn't respond to comments last week because I just got distracted. I'll be really honest. But the playoffs have really rejuvenated my excitement, and I couldn't wait for these games to end. I was actually really sad that a lot of the games went to 3 because I wanted to talk about the games. Like, I want to talk about them like immediately when they happen. And if you do want my up to date, right when the games are over, like analysis, my thoughts on games, definitely follow me over on Twitter at Hoops Like Girls. Everything's linked in the link tree below also, and also on TikTok. I think my username is like Typical Tory or something. I really don't know. But everything is linked in the link tree. And I do videos like almost like every time after games are over. And I'm always, for the most part, live tweeting. I probably won't be live tweeting the game Sunday just because I have like some family stuff going on. And yeah, so, but other than that though, I'm usually there. I'm always sharing my opinions. We actually have a lot of things to discuss this week. Very excited. We're going to talk about award announcements and playoff series analysis of what happened so far. And then we're going to talk about some predictions for the games that are starting tomorrow. Hopefully this episode will be up by like, it's already 7 p.m. I was hoping to do it earlier, but I really underestimated like how much like research that I needed to do in order to give you guys a really great episode. So it will be up a little bit later, but it'll be out before the games are on tomorrow, so it's fine. Anyways, like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a review. You can do that, like a little 5-star rating. I'm not going to say that you don't have to leave 5 stars, but like, I wouldn't be mad at it. Anyways, that's besides the point. Feel free to leave a review or not. It's up to you. I also, again, do want to thank you guys so much for commenting on YouTube. I'm really going to try and lock in on the comments this week. There was actually somebody who left a comment. And to be fair, whoever this person is, they leave a comment like almost every week. So I appreciate you being here, watching the podcast, supporting. I really appreciate it. I thought you were trolling me though. Sometimes I feel like you're trolling me like in a general sense, because sometimes you'll also comment on my TikTok and I can't pronounce the name. It's like TWIMZ, right? And like, I see you on TikTok, all the things, and I see you on YouTube. And again, I appreciate the support. I thought you were trolling me though when you put Aaliyah Boston and Sabrina in your first team, all WNBA. No, it's like no hate. It's just I can have a lot of conversations about things, but Sabrina definitely has not been. She has not been at any level to be on a first team this year, and that's all I'll say there. But I appreciate the input, and I do want to know what your thoughts are on the Co-Defensive Player of the Year. So if you are listening to this person, but also to anybody who's listening, please share your thoughts in the comments, because I'm going to share mine. And I'm very open to any thoughts on any of the awards, because they're so mixed. It's such mixed reviews this year, which is great because that means the game is growing. But also, we'll address some things later. Anyways, let's kick it off with, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be addressing why I'm dressed like this. I wanted to say I'm dressed like this in a hat and hoodie because I'm running a social experiment this week. As a Black creator, I do experience video suppression sometimes, depending on how I'm wearing my hair. Like, that's something that I definitely have noticed. Like on TikTok, I've noticed that I definitely get a lot more views if, I'm not wearing an afro, to be very honest. Like, if I have braids in, oh my God, like it's jumping. But if I'm not, so I'm running a social experiment just to see what that is. Usually I show up here professional in my pajamas, okay? But hair out. But yeah, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programs next week, regardless of what the results are, because I am still me, and I am a Black woman, and I deserve to have views, whether I have an afro or not. Okay, anyways, getting into the basketball, we have some award announcements. Of course, Rookie of the Year is Paige Bueckers. We've known this. We've known this. Some people try to say Sonia, and she had a good season and everything, but we had to be serious. It's Paige Bueckers. Love you, Sonia, though. But you're about to be up there. You have a very well-rounded game. It's very good. It's very tight. honestly. And I'm excited to see, how you fine tune that in the off season. I don't know if you're gonna be playing an Unrivaled or not. I don't remember if she said she was or if she said she was thinking about it. I don't really remember. But regardless, I'll be excited to watch you, and we will, of course, have that commentary and that analysis for you here on this podcast. And yeah, congrats to Paige Beckers. Next, we have Most Improved. That went to Veronica Burton. She had basically been like the front runner of that for basically the whole season. What she's done with the Valkyries is definitely like something that you can't deny. And she has just been great. Like, you can see the numbers, you see the stats. Like, even if you watch the series versus the Lynx, she played well in both of those games. And they just don't really have enough. Well, more on that analysis later. But she really carried for that team, especially once Kayla Thornton and Tiffany Hayes, were injured and we didn't really see them for parts of the season or for the rest of the season afterwards. So I'm happy that, she's gotten this opportunity with the Valkyries, and I'm pretty sure she's going to be protected next year. So I'm excited to see what more she does. And I hope that some more people are, want to go over there and play with her, because I think she's a great point guard as well. Obviously, she can finish around the rim, and she can hit shots when she needs to, and she's a great playmaker, at least from what I've seen. So good luck to Veronica Burton and those Valkyries. More on them later. Then we had Coach of the Year, Natalie Nakase. Last episode, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little out of pocket with it. I knew Natalie was winning because basically everybody has been saying she's winning all season. And that's not the same for all awards. That's not an equal, that's not like what is it? That's not really a transferable conversation for every award. But for this one in particular, everybody had been saying Natalie had a really great season. Other people, they gave their reasons. Nate, he's done so much with the team that we didn't think he would do. And Carl, he's done so much for the Dream. And we're going to get to the Dream. We're going to get to them because actually I have things to say. Okay. And then, Cheryl, she's great. And I think low key, had it not been Natalie, it would have definitely needed to have been Cheryl. But congrats to Natalie. She's had a great season, and I know she's definitely, the way the Warriors organization like moves, I know that they're going to stand 10 toes behind Natalie for a good while, and they're going to let her continue growing and moving forward. So it's going to be great. She's going to have a great coaching career, and I think she's definitely going to be one of those coaches that is a staple in the WNBA for a long while, and it's definitely well deserved. Like, just the way that the players talk about, how much she believes in them. And I think, like, we talk a lot about, being out coached, and we talk a lot about, coaches' jobs being on the line and for what reasons, XYZ. But I think that, again, the way that these players talk about just wanting to play for her, and really the way that any player talks about, like, it's not with all coaches, in my mind, at least. You don't hear that about every single coach that people have played for. But you definitely hear that about the great coaches that, are able to inspire their players, and, they believe in them. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that I've heard, and like the most common thing that I heard in post-game, like interview clips and stuff like that from players, was that she just believes in you. And I think that we just don't talk enough about how important it is to have confidence. And like, yes, to have confidence in yourself, but there are moments when, that confidence wavers. And to have somebody who is, your coach and wants you to be at your best so that the whole team can be at their best. To have somebody who can, like, constantly reassure you that, like, you are, good enough to be in this league, and you are good enough to be in the playoffs and XYZ. So congrats to Natalie, and I'm happy for the Valkyrie, and I hope that they continue, on with their success. I definitely think they're going to be getting a championship, like, in the near future. I don't know if it's going to be like next season or anything, but I definitely think they're going to be in there because of the coach and because of the way that she runs, the team and the coaching staff and everything. So congrats to Natalie. Shout out to you. You really deserved it. You really deserved it. And now we'll get to the Co-Defensive Player of the Year conversation. I actually made a video about this the other day. Well, I addressed it. Somebody had also asked me on Twitter what my thoughts were, and I'll put the tweet up on the screen if you're watching the video version. But I'll also share with you what I said. I have been pushing for Alana Smith to be in Defensive Player of the Year conversation for quite some time. And actually, I'll be linking a TikTok or two that I mentioned briefly in this episode as well, so you guys can, check them out if you're interested. I'm personally very pleased with the co-defensive player of the year. I think Asia has had an amazing defensive season, and the stats obviously support that, and as well as her in-game performances. And if there's anybody who is questioning whether or not Asia deserves it, which I don't really think anybody has been questioning it, her performance in game 3 of their series versus the Storm was definitely that was a phenomenal performance. And she's just a great defender, has always been that, and is somebody who plays hard on both ends of the floor. Again, it's just something that you can't deny that. She's a great player. She's somebody who goes up there and she gives it 100% every single game. And also what Atlanta has done this season for the top-rated defense in the league can't be ignored, and I think should be rewarded, and it was. I wasn't expecting a co-defensive player of the year, but I'm very happy with it. As a fan of the actual basketball and somebody who is seeing a lot of the conversations that are being had on social media, I'm very happy for the both of them. I think they're both deserving of it. And I think as somebody who actively has watched just about every single Lynx game, there are things that she does that don't show up on the stat sheet, and people will downplay that and try to discredit her and say that this award is a participation trophy, but it's not. And both of their games, I think, speaks for themselves. I also still stand by the statement that I made last week, which is that you don't have to discredit somebody to uplift another player. I made a video about this topic or I mentioned it briefly, and a few more people than I was expecting were Atlanta should have won it outright. But there was actually this creator who he had kind of echoed the sentiment that he thought that Atlanta could have won Defensive Player of the Year on her own, and had made a video about it before. Watching basketball over time, you kind of start noticing the little things, and sometimes the little things are a big part of the winning. When I first started watching basketball, it was a lot of me watching the ball handler, and that was kind of I was I can't really focus on anything else. I need to only focus on one point, and that's a really great starting point. But as you watch basketball more and more, you start focusing more on what's going on around them. Oh, is somebody setting a screen? Oh, is somebody cutting to the rim? You start noticing those type of things. I'm not really somebody who understands set plays and everything like that. I'm not somebody who does that. That's not me. I feel he really perfectly described the evolution of watching basketball and how some people may not be able to notice, little things like that. But I think that throughout this season, Atlanta has done a really great job of being there to kind of fill the gaps. And I think that the Lynx defense does that well in a general sense. But I've seen the take that a lot of Lynx defenders are good, so it's hard to pinpoint oh, who's the best defender here. And I can't understand that, I guess. I don't think that it's a valid reason to not vote for her. I definitely think Haley McBride is a good defender, and I think Bridget Carlton is definitely one of their best defenders. A lot of what Bridget does as well, she's not hunting for her shot a lot of the time, and so that's why I think her game is kind of overlooked. But I think that she's somebody who understands her role on the team, and everybody's role on the team is different. Yes, Kayla's a great defender, but we need you to have 15 plus points a game. Yes, Atlanta at one point was somebody who was looking for her shot and kind of hunting it a bit, but her role has kind of changed a little bit more this season, where at the beginning of the season she was looking for her shot a little bit more, and even last season she was, but now she's more of a paint protector more than she is somebody who's an offensive threat. So I understand what people are saying, but if you watch the games, she really is that last line of defense the same way that Asia is. I don't think that Atlanta is a rim protector in the same way, but I definitely think that Atlanta is a defender that can stretch the floor. She can defend a guard, but she can also defend in the paint. And even when, they're doing a zone defense or something like that, or drop coverage, whatever it happens to be, whatever defense they're running, a lot of times she's good about getting in the paint and contesting that shot. If somebody's man gets past them, she's very good about, being that defender that has to be there and has to be in a spot and needs to contest and make that shot as hard as possible for them. So I respect her game. I think she's cool. But I'm definitely going to link his video because I think that he said that a lot more eloquently than I could. And he has, he really has like a lot of ball knowledge. So if you do want to go check out his video, I'm linking it below. There's been a lot of videos kind of flying around about Cheryl and Becky and, them shading so-and-so and whether or not it's shade. Honestly, I don't mind two coaches kind of getting into it. Like, if anything, that makes it for like an even more entertaining like matchup potentially in the finals, especially because, it's one thing for like players to like, I really want to win, da 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 da. But like, I feel like they really have smoke for each other, and I love that. As a competitive person, I love that, and I want to see them have to get after. Like, it's gonna be a movie. This is gonna be a cinematic finals experience, and I'm really excited for it. Hopefully, both of those teams make it there. Just because that would be that would be like the perfect matchup in my mind. Like, the Mercury are fine, but like, it's not the same. Like, I want it to get a little nasty. And again, like I said, I don't mind coaches riding for their players. I think that that's where all of this is stemming from at the end of the day anyways. It's just both of them love their players, and they want them to be acknowledged, and they want them to win and to be at their best because they put them in the best position to win and to get awards and accolades or whatever. So congrats to the both of them. I'm so ready for that matchup. Like, it's not even funny. Kathy, I don't know what you need to do, but make the calls. Make the calls, Kathy. And you be dropping the ball often, so you need to lock in on that. Listen, guys, I'm editing this back and I'm realizing that I kept saying participation award, but what I meant was consolation prize or pity award. And I just kept saying participation award. To be fair, though, I had been recording for like 3 hours, and I'm not even kidding. The reason I was recording that long was because I kept messing up my takes on certain stuff, so I had to keep re-recording it. But it was because people kept calling my phone. When I tell you that I have never had so many people calling my phone during recording, it was actually an anomaly, and I was so upset and enraged every time it happened because I usually get 2-3 calls a day, sure, but to be getting 3, 4, 5 in the middle of recording, it was abysmal. It was abysmal. But that's what I meant, and I'm sorry. I was gonna go back and re-record every time I said participation award to say consolation prize, but actually I'm not gonna be able to do that. That's a little too much work. So I'm going to need you guys to show me some grace on this one. Okay, that's my bad. I'll be better next week. But also, that's my fault for recording in the middle of the night instead of doing it at midnight and 2 a.m. like I usually do. Anyways, we can get back in it. And then once I posted that video where I briefly mentioned Defensive Player of the Year, I had a comment from Kaylee. Do you think Asia getting Co-Defensive Player of the Year affects her in the MVP race? Because I've seen mixed views. And with that, I will say this. I made a video about that as well if you're interested in seeing that. I think I said it much more eloquently over there. But I think that the view on that was essentially, if you're not somebody who's on WNBA Twitter, was that, because Asia won Defensive Player of the Year or Co-Defensive Player of the Year, she probably lost MVP. And I don't agree with that for like 3 different reasons. I think it comes down to how you view Defensive Player of the Year. So to contextualize this question, a lot of people last year had said because Nafisa was up for MVP with Asia and then lost, but received Defensive Player of the Year, a lot of people kind of created this narrative that it was a participation award and that the only reason that she won it was because she lost MVP. And I personally think that she had a case for Defensive Player of the Year last year, and I had no problem with her winning it. But I think whether or not you think she deserved the award is subjective. Regardless, she won it. But because Asia is sharing this award with Atlanta this year, people are starting to see Defensive Player of the Year as being synonymous with losing MVP because of what happened last year. And I just don't think that that's the case. It's just, again, it's just become like a very sticky and toxic conversation that I don't think it should never, it's not that deep. Like, I think both of them had cases for Defensive Player of the Year, and just because the player that you wanted to win doesn't or has to share it, that doesn't devalue the award. But definitely Nafisa winning Defensive Player of the Year last year and then Atlanta winning this year has kind of added fuel to that narrative. But it does bring into question now, if Asia does win MVP this season, now you can't call Defensive Player of the Year a pity award. And also, I don't think that we have enough evidence to support that that's what Defensive Player of the Year is turning into. I think Nafisa had the case for it last season. Atlanta and Asia both had great cases for it this year, and it ended in a tie. It just really is coming down to, like, there are some watchers of the game now and supporters of the WNBA who will always be willing to change the narrative to fit their circumstances or to fit their argument for the time being. So for right now, it's a pity award up until MVP is announced tomorrow. And I guess we'll see what they say then. But I think everybody who was up for this award was deserving of it. I thought Gabby Williams was going to win, but I think that guards are always going to have to do more to receive that award than, somebody who is a center. But regardless, I think both of them were deserving of the award, and I'm happy that they won it. So shout out to Asia and Atlanta. And lastly, Sixth Player of the Year was announced today. Naz Hillman was awarded. Congrats to her. She's had a really great season. I felt like she's played very well off the bench, and then a lot of people have been saying, she started too many games and she gone to Natisha. I'm not gonna lie, I was rooting for Natisha, but I also felt like Nas is probably gonna get it because a lot of people have brought her up in conversation. I felt like I heard or saw a lot of media members saying that they have voted for Nas, so congrats to her. Like I said, Natisha had a great season off the bench, but you can't win them all. So like I said, congrats to Nas. And then also, I have to go back. I also think that to finish answering Kaylee's question, I have no reason to believe that this would affect her chances of winning MVP because, again, I don't see Defensive Player of the Year as being a pity award. But also, I've seen not a lot of media members, but the ones who have felt like that they wanted to be transparent about their ballot and their votes, I've seen their articles or I've seen their videos, and they've said they were voting for Asia, or that they voted for Asia. So I guess we'll see what happens. Good luck to the both of them. And now we'll get into the basketball. Playoffs, the series analysis. We're going to start with Lynx versus Valks. The Lynx did it in 2. Okay, y'all already know I'm here to talk shit. Game 1, they beat them by 20-something points. Let me see how many. It's 29 points, I believe. 72 minus 101. That's 29. 89. No, 82. 92. 102. Whoa. Hold on. 82, 92, 102, minus 129. Yes! Okay, math skills. Anyways, game 1, they beat them by 29 points. The Lynx took it 101 to 72. For the Valkyries, I feel like they started the game off with excellent defense. I'm not even gonna hold you. Y'all, this game started and I wasn't shivering in my boots. It never gave that. But y'all, I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting there like, it looked very nasty. Timmy Fekbenle had gotten off to a great start. She was very aggressive. She played some very intense defense. So intense that she ended up with foul trouble in the third quarter, I believe. And honestly, that was the best thing that could have happened for us. Genuinely speaking. But I think the Valkyries just didn't have enough to play with like that level of intensity on defense for the whole stretch of the game. I think obviously, to me, if Kayla Thornton and Tiffany Hayes were healthy, I do think that we'd be looking at something a bit different. I think maybe it would have gone to 3. I don't think that they would have won the series, but I definitely think it would have been, some of the matches would have been closer. especially this one. But, everybody came out there and they played hard. A lot of people were on Kate Martin's neck that first game, and they were like blaming it on her. Like, why'd you shoot like that? Why you play like that? You're not even going to be on the roster next season. Y'all always take it too far. Jesus. Yeah, take it too far. It's not Kate's fault they lost that damn game. I'm pretty sure she only shot like eight shots. She made 2 of them. Like, it just felt worse than it was because they had I'm pretty sure they had beat them in the third quarter, but then by the fourth they had went and put the bench in and stuff, at least halfway through the fourth or something, or I don't even remember how far along that was. But regardless, it just felt like a long time because Kate was out there on the floor for a long time. She she didn't do anything wrong per se. And I think that she's definitely going to be on a roster next year. Again, people just be doing too much. Some of y'all, you do too much. Y'all have got to learn how to take things. It's never that serious. And also, players are allowed to have a bad game. Now, there was somebody in TikTok comments when I said, y'all doing too much on Kate, who was like, we're not doing too much. She has been bad all season. This is her defensive rating and blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. I done told y'all before, I don't care about no stats. And also, she's on an expansion team. This is her second year in the league. Most people have bad second seasons. It's hard to come in there and be like, oh my God, I'm going to give exactly what I gave last year, if not better. It's hard to do that for a lot of people, and especially for someone who could be considered a role player. That's to be asking for her to do more than what she did this season in her second year is crazy. Also, she's on an expansion team. They're figuring things out. She's learning her role. She's still, she's figuring out how to be a pro. People did too much. Some of y'all, you did too much there. But anyways, still, we move. After the game was over, in the post game, Coach Nakase, I respect her so much, but I'm low-key going to have to call her to the front. Natalie, get on your Zoom. She said she wanted fair calls, and I'll be honest, nothing could have changed the fact that they shot was it 9 of 32? It was something like that. I forgot to get the rest of the number. I only have 9 there, but they weren't shooting well from the 3, and that's the game plan. And so in my mind also, I think you have to have a backup plan, but also you have to have the players to execute a backup plan. And I think that while this team is good, they just weren't really the Lynx are really good. So it's they deserve to be in the playoffs and everything, but also, going into next season, making sure they're trying your best, because really you can't even make sure that because you had to pick from them teams, and then, go and pick some free agents and stuff, or maybe some people out of the, overseas and stuff. But I don't think that they did the best they could, and they fought hard, but I will say those 16 turnovers also didn't help, sister. The bench didn't give them much. I think Minnesota's bench had 42 points, and then the Valkyries bench gave them 17. So I don't think it was about the calls. And even the second game, we'll talk about this, the calls were absolutely ridiculous on both ends, but mostly towards them Lynx. I'm not even gonna lie. There were some phantom foul calls. Luckily, that didn't lose them the game, but I was like, damn, y'all have completely overcorrected. And already the Valkyries were making it hard for them the first half of that game. So, but now we'll get into the stats. Veronica Burton had 14 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. She struggled to shoot from the floor, in terms of efficiency, but she's the leader of this team, and she played very well and played hard. So, that can't be denied. She put everything on the court in both games. I just think they need a little bit more on the bench, and I'm interested to see who's willing to go and play with them next season, because I think that's going to be a really great franchise. They have an amazing fan base, and they can only go up from here in my mind. Then we had Cecilia Zandalicini, who a former Lynx player that y'all know I love me some Chechi, but we had to lose somebody. We could only save 6, and they chose Chechi, and that was an amazing decision because she's played when she has been able to play. She's played well, and she shot the ball well. She gave them 14 points and 4 rebounds. Janelle Salon also had a good season and a good game. She gave you 13 points, 6 rebounds, and was 5-11 from the field. Timmy Fakbenle was in foul trouble in the third, but that was a big part of the score not being closer because she was definitely playing like the bigs. She was playing them well. Like she was contesting and she was getting whatever she wanted in the paint. She had 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 5 of 8 from the field. Now for the Lynx, they had a really rough opening 7 minutes of the game. Like, actually, I thought about cutting it off because I was like, girl, what am I looking at right now? Like, it was so bad. I was disappointed. I was upset. I was like, Cheryl, where is Natisha Heidemann at? Because she was kind of just letting them play through the opening minutes that were bad. And I was like, girl, this is not eating. Like, with 3 minutes left on the clock, I was like, Cheryl, where's Natisha at? Like, where is that other stud butt at? Because you need to change the scene and you need to do it immediately. And, because I have a direct line of communication to the Lynx, like, I have basically like a telepathic line with Cheryl. She did what she needed to do, and Natisha came in there and she was cooking. I believe she had the best plus minus in the game coming off the bench. I think she had the best plus minus coming off the bench in playoff history, actually. So shout out to her. Natisha has been so great for the Lynx in the second half of the season. Not to say that she wasn't playing well in the first half. I think they really started like turning to her and depending on her in the second half. And anytime she's on the floor, she plays hard and she plays well. By the second quarter, they had started finding their groove and were able to outscore them for the remainder of the game. They just looked very sloppy in the first half, but it's fine. Everything turned out okay. There were some injury scares for Nafisa with her ankle, and then also Natisha later on in the game, but they ended up fine. Dejanay came in for the first time during the third quarter. I know some people were, wondering where she was at and why she wasn't playing. But I think Cheryl just said that they had missed an opportunity to get her in the game in the first half. And so she definitely wanted to make sure she got her in there in the second half. And she hit, I think, 2 threes. Very, like, Dejanay has the version of her that was playing for the Wings and the version of her that played for the Lynx, and like to be fair, the version that's playing for her for the Lynx is the version of her we saw with the Sun last season. I think she just needed to be in a space where where there's an opportunity there for her, but also with the coach who knows how to play her as well. So congrats to Dejanay. They beat them in the paint 44-18, and I was on TikTok like the day this game happened. I was like doing, my little after game, like post game little thoughts and everything. And I had said, like, Bridget, I need you to shoot the ball. Like, we don't care, like, if it goes in or not, low key, but like, I kind of need you to be hunting for your shot. And, I've kind of said this all season. I definitely think that Bridget, like, they need her. And we're going to talk about her amazing performance in game 2. But I was like, girl, I'm going to need more from you. Like, and at the time, I was like, I don't care what it looks like, because genuinely, Lynx fans do not care. Like, we do want you to shoot it because we know that you can. And also, I think that Courtney has really kind of been struggling at different points at the beginning of games throughout the season. And, Kayla is great and Nafisa is great, but if Atlanta's going to be somebody who kind of is taking more of a back seat on offense to help with defense, and if Courtney isn't shooting well, and like I said, Kayla's great, Nafisa's great, but we kind of need you to be looking for that shot just a little touch. I think she had 2 points this game, but again, like, she plays great defense, so it definitely makes up for that. But there are moments when, we do need a couple of points from her. And in game 2, because I told you I have a direct line to my Lynx, I was able to get in touch. That message got to her and she was able to cook. Follow me. But let's get into the stats. Nafisa gave you 20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 7 of 11 from the field. Natisha Heidemann had 18 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and was 7 of 15 from the field. Kayla McBride had 17 points, 3 rebounds, and was 6 of 10 from the field. Courtney, really rough first half of the game, but she ended it with 11 points, 4 rebounds, 4 steals, and 4 assists. I will give it to Courtney whenever she does struggle. She definitely does, give it her all on defense. I do think that sometimes they'll blitz her at the half court, or even just like, I don't know, like they be double teaming her and it's easy to kind of get her handles a little, like to get her off, get her a little uncomfortable with the ball. And sometimes that would cause turnovers. But, it's a work in progress and it's something that we're moving with. I stand 10 toes behind Courtney as the point guard of this team because I know that, not only is she what we have, but I think that she's capable of being great. I would love to see next season them maybe go and get a point guard so that Courtney can be a shooter and can play the two, because I think that she is a good two. But at the same time, it's like if it wins you a championship, why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm very 50-50 on it because, again, like, Courtney's what we have, and she's proven why, she's there. She's an all-star. So I guess we'll see what happens. But Alana Smith gave you 9 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 steals. And Jessica Shepard came off the bench as well and gave you 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists, and was 4 of 7 from the field. Shout out to my Lynx. Keep doing what you do. Moving on to game 2, very tight. For game 2, they didn't play in Valhalla, but to me, like, it was still like the fans went out there and they showed up and they showed out for them. And like I said, the fan base runs very deep for this team. Like, they're very happy to have a women's basketball team there. But they played and they lost by 1. It was very tight. They gave it their all. They just weren't able to, get it to game 3. But I will say, like, again, for an expansion team to be at this point is really amazing. And who knows if we're going to see something like this with the next 2 expansion teams. I guess we'll wait and see. But before the game started, I tweeted that the Lynx would be the only team to close this series in 2. And they did just that. I was watching this game on TikTok live, and I'm not even going to lie, like, I was nervous because to be watching a game in front of other people, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm not even going to hold you. It's a lot because it's like people are like, oh, what's going on with your team? What's happening? What you gonna say? Like, what's going on? How do you feel? And it's like, I don't feel any type of way. I know that we need to do better. Like, and that's what I said. I gave a pep talk on the TikTok live, and I was also like, here's what y'all need to do, because this is what you're not doing right now, and this isn't you. This isn't you. Y'all are winners. You know how to win. Sometimes they be forgetting how to play basketball. Sometimes I've noticed that, but they always lock in when I need them the most. And so, again, I'm never going to do too much on them, but I also know when they're not giving me their all. I know when the defense is looking lackluster. I know when somebody isn't going hard enough. I know when Natisha needs to be on that floor. I know when Jessica needs to be in that game. I know when somebody needs to sit it on down for a second. You need to calm down. You're not having a good game right now. I know when. And like I told y'all, I have a telepathic connection to the team. So Cheryl be listening to me. She be listening to me from the house. She understands. I don't even live in Minnesota. She knows. We just have a connection like that. Anyways, back to what I'm talking about. I did think that this was going to be a tough game to win with the Valkyries home crowd. Like, a lot. And to me, I have really enjoyed the 1-1-1 format. I know a lot of people have been like, at first, people were saying that they didn't like it. And I understand, like, you don't want the teams, like, traveling like that. Like, I understand, it's a lot of wear and tear on the body. But also, it is great because it does give both fan bases an opportunity to, see their team play. But also, I think it is important to be able to win when you're not at home. So I think it's really cool, and I think that it is a very big reason for why a lot of the games went to game 3s, because low key, like, that home crowd, like, that can be your 6th player. Like, that can really determine whether or not, you win games and the momentum that comes with that. So I really enjoyed it. I knew it was going to be a tough game, but I felt like they could close it out if they really wanted to. I won't lie. They had my team in a chokehold for a good bit of time. They like the first half, my team was looking like hot ass. Like, I'm not even going to hold you. I was sitting there and I was like, damn, y'all are playing like, what the fuck am I looking at right now? Y'all look awful. Y'all look abysmal. Terrible showing of basketball I'm seeing from you right now. And my chest was tight for like 3 quarters, but I knew they had it. It was just like, I know that you can deliver on this, but you're not delivering right now. I know that you're capable of winning this game, but you're not doing what you need to do right now. But in the third, like, after the halftime, like, They locked in. They locked in. Like I said, I was on TikTok live and I was telling Cheryl who to put in the game. Like, I was having a generational night. The Lynx were down 13 at the half. It was 41-28. It felt worse than that because they had honestly gone on a little run towards the end. But I was like, y'all better come back after halftime ready to play because y'all look awful. And the Valkyries were getting everything they wanted in the first half. During the third, there was a scoring drought. It felt like there was only one person scoring, and it was Kayla for a good bit of that quarter. And then Bridget Carlton hit 1-3. Okay, and I was like, damn, there she go. And I had said before on TikTok Live, I forgot even to tell y'all, I had said we need 9 points from Bridget, okay? And she gave us 9+. She gave us 12 points, actually. So she had hit that 3, and then I believe they went up and down the floor. She hit another 3, went up and down, and she hit another 3. But then she was in foul trouble and got taken out of the game. But those threes that she hit in the third quarter, I cannot even begin to explain to you like how pivotal and how important that momentum shift was, because it was looking like is about to be a game 3. That's really what it was looking like. I'm gonna be really honest. And then after that, Fee started rolling and they kind of rode the hot hand for the remainder of the game. So Bridget went out to sit, but Fee and Kayla, they were doing what they did. Like, Kayla was hitting everything. She was hitting runners, floaters, she was hitting the layup, she was hitting shots, she was hitting threes, like whatever she needed to do, Kayla showed up and she did that. Nafisa had really got the ball rolling. She had like unlocked something and she wasn't even able to get in the paint. And I think that's what's been so great about Nafisa's kind of evolution of her game. Not to say that she only ever like gets her points in the paint. She's definitely somebody who can stretch the floor, but her being able to get into the mid-range, and they were making it really hard to get into the paint. The fact that she was able to, you know, get those shots and still give you however many points. How many was it? 24 points. And, you know, they weren't in the paint. They were in the mid-range and from 3. Amazing. Cinema. Great basketball. But, sorry. Dejanay had also come in when Bridget was out and she hit 2 threes. She played some great defense. She was getting some steals here and there, and she was definitely hitting some pivotal shots. But I think also, you know, you would go and look at the stat sheet for Dejanay or for Bridget Carlton and you'd be like, oh, they only shot this. But those were like big threes that they hit. Like, Bridget hit those threes during the scoring drought. It was rough. I'm telling you, I was like, they are putting belt to ass on us right now. Like, we're getting cooked. But she hit those threes and it changed everything. And that's something that the stat sheet's not going to tell you. It's something that the play-by-play can tell you, yes. But me personally, I'm not reading no damn play-by-play. It's a little too long. That's a little too long for me. But stats just don't contextualize that stuff. Like, somebody can shoot 2 of 18 for the game, and we'll talk about somebody who shot 2 of 17 later on. But somebody could shoot 2 of 18 during the game, but maybe one of their shots was a game winner. And later on, Courtney actually, she was having a very rough night, but she ended up hitting like a mid-range shot with like, I think like 30, 40 seconds left on the clock. And it was like, girl, who knew? Like, I'm not even gonna lie, when the shot went up, I was like, I don't know. I was very hesitant. I was questioning it because she had a bad night. But again, that's where that confidence comes in as a shooter. And it was just very interesting. But anyways, I was nervous about Courtney. But then in the fourth, Fee kept hitting shots and Kayla, and there was 4 minutes left in the quarter. And I was like, all right, Cheryl, time to put BC back in there. And she put Bridget in there and Courtney. And after that, like I said, Courtney hit a midi to take the lead or to tie the game. I don't really remember which one it was, but it was one of those. And then BC hit a 3 at some point in there as well. But Nafisa just really put her foot on the gas in the second half and, you know, really proved, you know, how to close out a game and how to be, you know, that leader of a team and how to be the best. So shout out to Fee. But I felt like for the first half of the game, they were just very reactive. And then in the second half, they were a bit more proactive. So I think that a lot of the game was kind of like happening to them in the first half. And then in the second half, they had kind of settled in and were able to impose their will on the game and, you know, get the shots they wanted, get the looks that they wanted. And it was great. But like I said, the Valkyries definitely made a lot of that hard. But they're definitely going to be a scary team, like, as time goes on and, they continue adding to that roster. There were a lot of phantom calls by the refs as well. But I think for me, there was a lot of complaining throughout this game. And I don't really like when people complain to the refs because I understand, like, wanting your calls and everything. And I'll say this for both teams as well because both teams were doing it. But sometimes I'm a big believer that, like, at the end of the day, the refs aren't going to save you. Like, they're calling the game however they're calling the game, and you have to adjust to that. And sometimes you have to go out there, put your head down and work. And they definitely locked in and did what they needed to do. We'll get into the stats for the Valkyrie. Monique Billings gave you 15 points, 4 rebounds, and was 7 of 12 from the field. Chechi Zandolazini gave you 14 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Like, she was hitting some insane shots. If you go back and watch, like, the shots she took and made, like, amazing. Janelle Salon had 14 points, 4 rebounds, and was 4 of 7 from the field. And there was a little questionable foul call in there because they said Nafisa had fouled her. Personally, she has a very unorthodox shooting motion. Like, if we're going to be really real, the shot, like, she throws it up from, like, behind her head, and then she, like, just, like, I don't know, it's very unorthodox. And people were like, I personally was like, that's not a foul. Like, I definitely think the Vals, they be flopping, okay? And I've been had beef about flopping, but I'm not gonna name names, okay? I'm not gonna name names right now because I'm not gonna get nasty like that. But this team was definitely flopping. There was some players that was flopping. It wasn't everybody, but it was some people flopping, okay? And that one, I didn't feel like, and the challenge, I think they challenged it and that it was successful, but it definitely should have been because, maybe she shot the free throws. I don't really remember, but I just remember, like, seeing the play, and Nafisa, first of all, did not land in her landing spot, but it was also like, if she did land in her landing spot, like, that shot is so unorthodox that it's like, how do you even know what the landing spot is? Like, how do you even know? How do you really know? Anyways, but Veronica Burton gave you 13 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, and had 4 steals. Then for the Lynx, Nafisa gave you 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and was 10 of 16 from the field. She missed some free throws this game, and honestly, she been missing a couple free throws, okay? We gotta lock in. But I'm you still the MVP to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do too much. But Kayla McBride also gave you 18 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and was 8 of 13 from the field. Bridget Carlton had 12 points and 2 rebounds, was 4 of 7 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3. And Dejanay Carrington had 11 points and was 4 of 9 from the field. Natisha had a quieter night, but did well getting the ball moving. There were a couple of moments where, especially in the first half, where I felt like there was a lot of dribbling happening and not enough just, like, working the ball around to try to find the open shot, which is typically, like, what their offense is supposed to look like. It's not supposed to look like, somebody playing ISO. It's not supposed to look like, somebody just, like, dribbling the air out the ball or anything. Not that I felt like anybody was dribbling the air out the ball, but I was seeing a lot of dribbling. And they do best when they're just passing the ball around and finding the open man. So they had 7 assists, but Natisha had 7 assists, and I felt like the 2-man game between her and Fee was really great in the fourth quarter and definitely played a huge role in them winning this game. And then Courtney gave you 6 points, 7 assists, and had 5 rebounds. Shout out to my Lynx for getting it done in 2. It's what we do, okay? But now they'll be playing, the winner of the Dream versus Fever matchup, and I have a lot of things to say about that. Okay, now we're going to talk about Series 2, Dream versus Fever, Game 1. The Dream won 80-68. There were a lot of games like that first day, and there was no time for a snack break. Like, my stomach, I was so hungry, so I left. I did watch the first half of the game, and then I think I saw the last few possessions for, like, at the end of the game, but I did not watch this whole thing. And so, also, I'm going to be talking about this series a little bit differently because I have, like, an overarching, like, point that I would like to talk about with the Dream. So I usually, like, if a player doesn't, like, have, like, the best, like, efficiency, I won't write it down. I won't, unless I have, like, a point to make about it. And I do have a point to make about this. So this is no, like, shade. Again, I'm a fan. I can't play professional basketball. These are just my thoughts and opinions, and like, who am I? You know what I'm saying? Who am I? But I don't want like players to like see or like hear these things and think that I'm like shitting on them. I have like an overarching thought, and I think that every player, there's always going to be things to work on, always going to be things to improve on. But sometimes we do have to have these conversations, and I think that it's healthy to have conversations and to have criticisms and critiques about things, whether or not you agree with them or not, or whether or not everyone agrees with them or not. So we'll get into it. Ryan Howard had 20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 6 of 17 from the field and was 4 of 10 from 3. Alicia Gray had 20 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and was 5 of 16 from the field. Naz Hillman had 16 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, and was 5 of 7 from the field. Bree Jones had 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and was 5 of 7 from the field as well. Brittany Griner, 2 points and 2 rebounds. And Jordan Canada struggled this game. Okay. For the Fever, to me, the biggest thing that poked out about like the Fever losing this game, because they had stuck with them at the beginning of the game, and they've stuck with them like throughout these games, in my opinion. Aaliyah Boston was in foul trouble, and I had said like the day this game came on, like that can't happen. Like she can't be in foul trouble, and because they need her to win the games, right? So Kelsey Mitchell gave you 27 points, 4 assists, and was 9 of 18 from the field. Odyssey Sims gave you 10 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. And I believe that this game, we thought she got hurt. Something was going on with her ankle, but she was able to come back and play and has been playing for the past 3 games. Lexi Hull gave you 9 points, 4 rebounds. Aaliyah Boston had 8 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists. And Natasha Howard had 5 points and 6 rebounds. Now, to me, personally, I thought that this game was going to be like, not this game, but I thought this series was going to be a little bit better than it was. And we'll talk about like why or whatever after I talk about game 3. But I thought it was giving that Aaliyah Boston and Natasha Howard have been great post players for the entirety of the season. So I was like, it's going to be really great in my mind that Bree Jones and BG are going to be out there playing. Now, I hadn't been watching a ton of Dream games, so I was not like heavily aware outside of me just like briefly looking at stats occasionally. Because I stopped paying attention to them because they were like second seed at one point, and then they had started slipping, and I was like, oh, they must have had some tough matchups in the back half. But I didn't really know that BG was becoming like so unplayable. And so we'll discuss that in a moment. But what would have made this matchup much better was if BG had been playing like the version of Brittany Griner that we've seen in previous seasons. And I don't know if that's because she wasn't getting the ball, on the low block so that she can, do what she does and put the ball in the hole. She's like 6'9". She's like 6'9". I Googled it last night because I was like, it's a bit ridiculous for somebody who's 6'9" to only have 2 points and 5 points here and there. And so I went back, and at one point, because I went back in game 2, which that game, the Fever won 77-60. I was at work and I wasn't able to like watch all of the game. I turned it on like in the 4th quarter, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? So I tweeted, y'all, what the hell is going on here? What's going on with the Dream? And people were like, the refs are playing them like they're getting hoed right now. And they were getting hoed, but also nobody forced them to turn the ball up. I'm not even going to get into that yet. I'm not going to get into that yet. I went back and I watched the shot selection because after the 3rd game, people started saying, because I watched the like last few minutes of the 3rd game because I went to go get dinner because my car messed up. That's a separate conversation. But I had to wait for my sister to get home, so I missed the beginning of this game, or actually most of the game, and I went to go get dinner, so I missed it and I didn't get to watch all of it. Okay. But game 2 came on, and I went back and I watched like all the shots they took because everybody was like on Ryan's neck. They were like, Ryan, shot selection, this, that, and the third. If you watch this podcast, I said it basically last season. Ryan Howard is unfortunately somebody who isn't super efficient. And a lot of people aren't efficient in this league. And that's a separate conversation, right? That's a separate conversation. But for Ryan Howard to be a leader on this team, she has to be better. It just comes down to that. But we're going to get there in a minute. I'm going to save my Ryan Howard thing for a second. I'm going to save that because actually it's a bigger conversation to be had and to contextualize, but I have to get through the stats first. So game 2, I went and I saw the last quarter of the game, and seeing this Fever team play this well with this roster that has gone through so much change this season, like, it's definitely going to be an interesting season next year. It's just crazy because everybody was saying Carolyn was wrong. Like, did she say that this team is better without Caitlin? Yes. Have they proven that so far? Yes. That's a tough conversation to have, okay? We'll never know because of the injury that has removed her for the season. But this is a team that's capable of functioning on its own, okay? And that's a conversation to be had at a later time. Maybe in like 2 or 3 seasons time. We'll see. We can't really have that conversation with finality right now, but it's okay. Anyways, the Fever beat them on the board 37-27. This iteration of the Fever are just much longer than the original team that was put together. And I think that because of that, this has been a tough matchup for the Dream all season because I don't think they beat them at all this season. Maybe they did one time, but it hasn't been. I don't even know if they beat them that one time. Like I don't remember. But when your defender is long and in some cases faster than you, because Kelsey Mitchell is somebody who's fast. When your defender is longer or faster than you, it's much easier to contest shots and make them tough. And that was definitely their strength that game because I went back and watched all of the shots that the Dream took. And to be completely honest, all of the ones that weren't wide open were not good look. Like they weren't like looks that you love. Like they weren't looks that you want your player to have to shoot. And then on top of that, some of the ones that were wide open, it was like they were so out of rhythm that they weren't falling. And so, again, we're going to have a conversation about the shot selection in a moment. But the Fever made it hard. And their defense made every single shot they took hard. So, the Fever, they won this one fair and square. Like, yes, the refs were on some BS because I did, like I said, go back and watch the shots, every shot they took. But, again, it comes down to, like, sometimes you're not going to get the calls you want and you have to just play through it. And I think that the Dream are sometimes, that's a team that kind of struggles to stay poised. And we're going to have a separate conversation about being poised with John Quell at a later time. But the Fever making it hard for the Dream, that definitely has been a strength for them in this series. Kelsey Mitchell finished this game with 19 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, and was 6 of 13 from the field. Aaliyah Boston finished the game with 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 7 of 12. Natasha Howard gave you 12 points, 5 rebounds, and was 5 of 8 from the field. For the Dream, they just didn't shoot the ball well. A lot of people said the refs were selling, but also the Dream not being able to get going offensively, like that just can't happen. And I think, obviously, I went back and watched a lot of the shots that they took, and they just struggled to finish around the rim through contact. And that'll just be something that the guards have to work on this offseason. But I don't know. Alicia shot 2 shots in the first quarter and didn't score until 9 minutes into the game. And I think they just made, shooting hard for her, but also her only being able to shoot 9 minutes into the game, like, that's just something that you have to be able to figure that out. And they're still a young team. But a lot of these things are growing pains. Like I said, I went back and watched a lot of the shots they took, and it was a little bit of everything. Like, they were missing open shots. They were shooting really early in the shot clock. So, not really trying to work for a better shot was an issue. And then they just never really got a good look at shots in a lot of the possessions. Like, I went back, like, when I watched the shots, I didn't like a lot of them. And, it was like some of them that was the best they could get in the moment, but this game kind of ran away from them very early on. Ryan Howard had 10 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, and was 3 of 9 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. Tahina Powell had 11 points and was 4 of 6 from the field. And nobody else on the team had double digits. Alicia Gray had 9 points, 7 rebounds, and was 4 of 6 from the field. Game 3 was pretty tragic. They lost this game 87-85. I think it's ridiculous for this team to have the lead at home and turn the ball over with a minute left. They had some defensive lapses like 2 times in the final like possessions that the Fever had, and the Fever scored both times. Ryan was wide open for a 3 to take the lead up to 4 and missed the shot. A lot of people have brought up the fact that she took that shot a few times this game and didn't make it, and they didn't see why, they went to her again for that shot. Then with 7 seconds left, down 1, they couldn't inbound the ball. And I don't know. There's so many things that can be said here. Like, they have a 6'9" demon on the bench that you can't even play to protect the paint in the last minutes of the game. That's definitely one of the issues for the Dream. And then, like I've said, like, people brought up foul calls this game as well, but the refs didn't make them turn the ball over 13 times. It's tough. It's tough to defend. It's tough to defend. For the Fever, Kelsey gave you 24 points, 2 rebounds, and was 7 of 16 from the field. Odyssey Sims had 16 points, 8 assists. Aaliyah Boston gave you 14 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, and was 6 of 11 from the field. Natasha Howard gave you 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 6 of 12 from the field. And Lexi had 10 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. And really, Lexi's steals came up in like the big moments. Like when the game was on the line, she stole the ball. I think those were her 2 steals. For the Dream, Alicia Gray gave you 19 points, 12 rebounds, was 9 of 15 from the field. Jordan Canada had a much better game. She gave you 18 points, 10 assists, and was 8 of 14 from the field. Ryan Howard gave you 16 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and was 7 of 18. Nas gave you 9 points, 10 rebounds. Bree Jones gave you 12 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and was 5 of 8 from the field. So when we talk about the problems with this team, again, I had them winning this series because for obvious reasons, they had no business losing. Honestly, they had no business losing this game, and that's no knock on the Fever because, like I said, they have really great post players. And I think had the Dream had those 2 post play, like had BG been able to play and actually play with some heart, we're having a different discussion. I went back and I watched like the shots that BG took in game 2. I didn't like them at all. She only played like 5 minutes that game. And it didn't really matter. But the fact that you're unplayable in the playoffs, you're 6'9" and you're not playable in the playoffs. And the thing is that I like BG. I feel like BG had a good time and Unrivaled, and I was like, honestly, like, and even for the Mercury last year, like, she had some good games. So I'm thinking, okay, duplicate that. And again, it could be because, like, she wasn't getting the ball in spots that she needed it. But even then, like, that's on the coach to, be like, we need to get her going. We need to get her open. Like, BG is going to be a part of this team and is going to play a big role. So we've got to figure out how to get her the ball on the mismatch. And anybody is a mismatch for BG. Anyways, at the beginning of the season and throughout, I was honestly surprised that this team was good. I didn't watch all of their games, but I felt like they started the season strong, and then I wasn't really paying attention to them for a lot of the season. And the next thing I knew, with a month left in the season, they were like the 2nd seed. They had beat the Lynx, and they had some great matchups in the back half, but I'm not gonna lie, they had started slipping. When they weren't in the 2nd seed anymore, I was like, dang, what happened to them? But I wasn't really curious enough to go find out. But I was in my head like, okay, well, I've seen them play earlier this season, so they fine. They're good. We ain't gotta worry about nothing. But clearly I was incorrect. What I'm about to say, I don't mean this in a malicious way, but I think it's an important thing to discuss, as fans of basketball and as people who have been watching, Unrivaled and into this season and even last season of the WNBA. I will obviously, again, preface this by saying I'm not a pro basketball player. I'm just simply a basketball watcher. Under Tanisha Wright, there were a lot of glaring issues with the Dream, okay? And I called those things out because I was like, that doesn't need to be your head coach. You need a new head coach. And I will say that Carl Semesco came in here and he has changed a lot of things. This season was much better than last season. They actually had a fighting chance in this playoff series. And it just came down to execution. And to me, also, they're a young team. They don't have as much experience. This is one of those growing pains things, I hope. But also, to a certain extent, as somebody who lives in Atlanta, these teams don't be winning. There's something external going on, okay? I don't know what it is, but there's some type of curse here. And I'm not even somebody who believes in superstitions like that. But we just don't be winning games. The Super Bowl 2017 with the Falcons, we were up the entire the first half of that game, and I don't even like football like that. But I was like, the Falcons might win something. My father was so excited. They dropped the ball, lost to Tom Brady. I still don't know how the hell that happened, but it happened. Okay, the Braves finally won something maybe 3 years ago, and they haven't been able to duplicate that success since. The Atlanta Hawks, they haven't won nothing. And I think that it's crazy because I think that all these teams have good foundations. I don't watch baseball, so I don't know. I don't watch football, so I don't know. But those basketball teams, the Hawks, they've had good players. They've had competitive rosters, but they can't win. They can't get over the hump. I don't know what the situation is. But right now, outside of that superstitious situation, but we have to have the conversation about Ryan Howard. And she's been getting a lot of Arike comparisons. And I think that as a shooter, you have to be confident. But also, you have to let the game come to you and you have to be able to stay poised. And all of those things are a lot easier said than done. And I like to liken this situation to playing 2K. I play a lot of 2K and I will switch the modes of difficulty, right? And it's because eventually blowing people out by 20 points, that's not fun anymore, right? That's not fun. So I changed it to Hall of Fame mode. And while, again, this is not the exact same, this is not the same thing at all, but it kind of is because it's the same lesson. I have lost I play all 82 games, and I've lost, every single game that I've played on this mode so far. I think I've only won and beat the computer 8 times out of, the 84 times that I've played on this level. And it really sucks, first of all, to lose that many games. But also, what I've learned in the games that I've won is that you gotta be locked in. Every single possession matters. And if you make it hard for yourself by making bad shot selections, or if you're just out there, sometimes I be out there, I only got 10 points. And I'm my player has put up triple doubles. I put up 50 points before on the team. I'm like that. And so I'll go out there and I'm let me turn it up a notch. Let me start hooping. We're down 7. Let me just start doing whatever. I'm gonna start just putting this stuff up. I'm gonna try to go to the free throw line. I'm about to go on a generational run. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because I don't be looking for nobody who's open. I'm not passing the ball. I'm not cutting to the rim. I'm not doing none of that. I'm just bullshitting. And I later on have to pay the price for that. Next thing I know, I look at the score before we were down 7, but because I just was just throwing anything up and trying to get to the free throw line and getting in the paint and my shot getting blocked, now we're down 22. And I have no chance of coming back from this because I wasn't taking possession seriously. And I think that that's essentially the same thing in the playoffs. The thing that makes the playoffs and in-season games different is that level of intensity. When people talk about having experience and, being there before and how important that is, yes, because that completely changes the way that you play the game. Understanding that every single possession matters and what you do in the first quarter, definitely impacts what you, the hill you have to, and the things you have to overcome later on in the game, that is definitely a playoff thing. And yes, during the season, I'll say, I definitely think that every player takes some possessions off. Like, you're not always going 100% on both ends of the floor throughout the season. Like, there's not anybody doing that, okay? But in the playoffs, you have to do that. And if you haven't done that before, if you haven't been in the position to do that before, you haven't been in the position to hit big shots, obviously, like, you're low-key not going to do that in the moment. You might, and that'll be, oh my gosh, so amazing. But when it comes to playing, like, experienced players, you might not, it might not be like that. You might not be able to get that shot off. You might make some poor decisions. Like, it's very easy to slip up and lose, like, control of the game. And I think that that's definitely something that happened in the fourth quarter. I think that they played well, and you can point to different things and say that it was because of the refs and it was because of this, that, and the third. But also, you, to a certain extent, you do have to hold Ryan Howard to a certain standard because she is the leader of this team. And, I think that the guards on this team, they have, like, the consistency thing and the efficiency thing is their biggest issue. Like, yes, did they have a much better season than they did last time? Absolutely. It's no question. I think that this is a system that works for them. But also, they need something else. Like, there needs to be something else to do besides shooting threes. And, like, you need a backup plan for when that's not working. And I think that that was also a big issue that they had as well. And I think that it is fair to critique Ryan Howard, but I do think that we kind of have to give her some grace because she has been injured a lot throughout her career. And the same time that I want to give her grace for that, and it's tough to find your rhythm, like, when you've been hurt or you've been out for the season. It's also like, if you go back and look at her season previously or her unrivaled performance, it's like she's either it's like she's either there or she's not, and you need her to be there every single time. And I don't know. I think this is a bigger conversation, and I don't think that Ryan deserves like 100% of the blame, because at the end of the day, like, I think it was multiple things. It's not just Ryan. But yes, I do think that she should be held accountable for, like, some of the shots that she takes and some of the decision making that's happened. But also, this team is young, and they need more experience. And I'm interested to see if Alicia Gray is going to be staying next season or not. I think she is, but also, if I'm her, I know that I'm good, and I want to win. I want to compete. And I know that the Aces are looking for a shooter, probably. And I can be the answer to that. And I can go play with my best friend. Like, I don't know. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But I definitely think that outside of the Ryan Howard, the Dream need a better bench. Like, when I look at that bench, like, outside of Tahina and Maya Caldwell and Nas, like, but I'm viewing Nas as a starter now since she started this game and most of the series. Like, y'all need, if it's them, keep them three, and you need to overhaul that bench this offseason. Like, you need to be begging free agents, because I'm sorry, some of the players like Nia Coffey and Shatori Walker Kimbrough and some other pieces, like, it's not enough. It's not enough. And then, we have the BG thing and shooting threes. I'm not even going to get into that. Fix those things first. I understand that they're young. They have things to work on and grow on, and hopefully they do. Now we'll talk about game 1 of the Liberty versus Mercury series. The first game, Liberty beat the Mercury 76-69. There's a few things I could say here. The Mercury should have won this game, first of all. And they would have won this game had Satu been, at her best. But I'm not going to do too much because, as I told y'all before, I've put Satu's and I's one-sided beef. I put it to the side, and I recognized her greatness because I had been talking some smack. I had been in previous seasons and at the beginning of the preseason. And honestly, the preseason, I was doing a lot. Okay. But I was like, Satu really did help carry the team when Ka and AT were out. So I was like, I'm not even going to do too much on her. I'm not even going to do too much. And so I acknowledge that, I was a little too hard on that lady. And so, I'm gonna give her flowers. I'm gonna let her have her space. And also at the same time that I was like, damn, how do you shoot 2 of 17? It was also like, or was it 2 of 18? I don't really recall. But a part of me was like, she's allowed to have a bad game. She's allowed to have a bad game, and she's really shown up in games 2 and 3. So again, I'm gonna let Satu have that pass. I will say that I think that Nate Tibbetts had some poor play calls in this game. It was winnable, but I feel like the play calls, it was a little shaky. And that's why we will forever have beef. I think the previous possession that AT had the game, like towards the end of the game, it was like the last 4 possessions, AT tried to take it to the paint, and the Liberty, they had built a wall to stop her from making the shot that she was going for in the paint, and she wasn't able to hit it. So then I think the Liberty had a possession, and they either hit a shot to tie it, or they weren't able to hit anything because it was still tied. And then it went back to the Mercury with a few seconds left on the clock. So they took a timeout, and then after the timeout, they were kind of AT was dribbling the ball, taking some time off the clock. And I just personally felt that AT should have been a distractor and then passing it out to somebody on the perimeter for a 3 instead of her going for the shot around the rim. And I feel that way because of what had happened in the possession previously. It's obvious that you're going to AT in my mind. Because, yeah, she is the MVP candidate, and that without a doubt she can probably knock down that shot, or she's probably the best person to do that. But I also think that you have to be able to have trust in other teams. And, I also think that you have to be able to have trust in other teammates, and that the play just shouldn't have been called for AT. It should have been called for somebody else. And had they done that, I think that this game ends sooner. But that's neither here nor there. She got a look at a layup. She wasn't able to make it. She had tried to create some space by kind of throwing her shoulder into Breanna Stewart, but Breanna Stewart's too tall for that. It would have worked on somebody smaller though. It definitely would have. But Breanna Stewart, she's a champion. She wasn't falling for that, and she made it tough, and she wasn't able to get enough space on it. But I did think she got a good look at it. She just wasn't. It didn't fall, unfortunately. The layup just didn't fall, so it went into overtime. And I will say that the Liberty have looked awful for a very long time, because I think that that's important to contextualize these games. A lot of people were like, oh, the defending champions and everything. This team has looked bad. And it is because of injuries. Benigilani Hamilton getting hurt in the offseason. That was a huge blow for them. Natasha Cloud signing with them, that felt like a good choice, because I did feel like Sabrina needed to be off ball. And after not having Courtney Vandersloot come back, they needed a point guard. And Natasha Cloud honestly played very well in game 1. She had an amazing game. She was almost one of the only people who showed up this game. But Jonquel Jones also being hurt, and then Breanna Stewart being hurt, it just kind of... They never really had a chance to click outside of that those first few games of the season. And, them losing Kayla Thornton as well to the expansion team. While those seemed like, for some people, small changes, they were a very big deal for this team. And honestly are probably... And then them not being able to fill those gaps with what they lost, that definitely played a big role in, them being a first round exit. But to get back to the game went into overtime, and Stewie got hurt. And I was so sick that the game went into overtime, because I wish that either one of the teams would have been able to handle business in the regulation time. But it was just a freak accident, and it was unfortunate. And we ended up learning that she had an MCL sprain after this game. And she still came out there and played, And the Liberty as a team, Some of them should be ashamed of themselves. Not all of them. Natasha Cloud came out there and played hard the first game. Sabrina played well in the third game. And she played okay in the first game. But, like, the fact that Jonquel Jones and Emma Miesemann, like, the fact that and even Leonie Phoebus, the fact that they have not shown up and helped contribute offensively, I'm still in disbelief. Like, Breanna Stewart was fully out there. She dropped 30 plus points on the Mercury. She was the only one to even score in the fourth quarter of the game. She had 14 points. Nobody else scored a damn thing on that team. And it's just like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that Jonquel Jones, who was the former Finals MVP, only had how many points was it? Only had 17 points over 3 games in the postseason. And a lot of people have said she's been playing a little more scared since her injury, but it's like, this is the championship. Breanna Stewart is putting her career possibly on the line to be competing for this championship and to be playing with y'all. And damn, a lot of y'all couldn't even muster more than 9 points. And honestly, Sabrina was having a bad first quarter. She had a bad game too. But she came up and showed up the third game. I'll give her that. But it's ridiculous. The people up over there, y'all gonna have to make some changes. Y'all are gonna have to get some new people for the bench, because this is not gonna do. But Natasha Lena Hamilton will probably be back. But that's a little bit ridiculous. Anyways, for game 1, the Liberty, they didn't use the bench. And a lot of people were kind of pointing to that as the reason that, this injury happened. It was a freak accident. She, like, landed on it wrong. It was just like, but I do agree that you got to use the bench at least at some point. And I think she only used, like, 1 person off the bench, or maybe 2. I honestly don't know how they won this game with 20 turnovers, but they were able to make it happen. Natasha Cloud gave you 23 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and was 9 of 12 from the field. Stewie gave you 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and was 7 of 14 from the field. Sabrina had 16 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, and was 6 of 18 from the field, 3 of 12 from 3. Her shot has been off. Leonie Phoebus, honestly, her shot has been off all season. I will say, I'll give her 10s on the fact that she's been able to figure out another way to, get points and contribute, but she has not been playing that well this season. Like, she's been having them 30-point games and stuff, but a lot of that has been from the free throw line, or it hasn't been from the 3. But I do like that she is, like, figuring out different ways to get it done, so I'm not going to do too much. Leonie Phoebus had 10 points, 6 rebounds, and was 4 of 9 from the field. Emma played 12 minutes and scored 2 points and 8 rebounds. Jonquel Jones had 7 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks. For the Mercury, Kalia Copper had 15 points and was 5 of 13 from the field. Alyssa Thomas had 14 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, was 7 of 18 from the field. DeWanna Bonner had 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, with 5 of 7 from the field. And Satu Sabali had 9 points, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, was 2 of 17 from the field, 1 of 10 from 3. My God. Terrible night, but she's allowed to have a bad game. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do too much. I did too much on that. Anyways, game 2, absolutely abysmal showing of basketball from the Liberty. The Mercury won this game 86-60. They should have been paying the fans to watch this game, honestly. And it's crazy because they played this way and they're going up on ticket prices. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been talking about this on the WNBA Twitter and on Threads as well, but they're being priced out as season ticket holders. And I think it's I want to say, is it 30, 40 grand for season ticket holders? I've never seen that kind of money. Okay. I'm 24. I'm not moving like that. Okay. But if I had to drop that for some season tickets and I still got bills to pay, I think the hell not. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Y'all need to do better, actually. Yeah, you're slipping. You're slipping. I did want to jump in here briefly and clarify that not every Liberty season ticket holder is experiencing a price increase of that magnitude and they're not paying those prices. That's mostly for,
on the court, like premium seating. But a pretty popular account in the WNBA space had tweeted out the difference of pricing from this season to next season. And she said that this season, for those courtside seats, she's paid $19,000 for 2 tickets. But next season, for 22 regular season games, not including the playoffs, if she wants 1 seat, she'll be paying $34,650. But if she wants the 2 seats like she got this season, it'll be $69,300. And she kind of talked about her being priced out of that section. And I've read like a couple of things on Reddit about some other fans, who were kind of talking about the increase. And it's not necessarily that they're upset about the price increasing. It's more about how, the team has gone about it. So yeah, I did want to briefly add that and like not have people thinking that, every single ticket is $30,000 and $40,000. That's not the case. That's just for the courtside seats. And I'm sure that, if they want to continue going to those games and they're being priced out, they have to take a different section. But I can understand, like, them being upset.
Anyways, the Liberty had 15 turnovers this game. They got outscored in the second quarter and were never able to recover from that. They only made 19 shots of the 63 they took. The bench players, they did play this time. There was kind of no other choice because you didn't want to overplay Stewie. But also, all of the starters were in single digits. And to me, Breanna Stewart doesn't count because she's hurt. So she's allowed to have single digits. And all the things she's done in her career, she's allowed to have single digits. Okay? Sabrina had 9 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, was 3 of 13 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. Jonquel Jones had 7 points, 13 rebounds, and was 3 of 9 from the field. Leonie Fibish had 2 points and was 0 of 5 from the field. Emma Mieseman had 11 points, 6 rebounds. Natasha Cloud had 8 points. For the Mercury, Satu had a much better game. She had 15 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and was 5 of 11 from the field. Alyssa Thomas had 15 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, and was 6 of 13. Kalia Copper had 14 points on 5 of 9 shooting. Dewana Bonner gave you 14 points, 8 rebounds, was 6 of 9 from the field. And Catherine Westbell gave you 10 points, 3 rebounds, and was 4 of 6 from the field. Then we have game 3 where the Liberty lost to the Mercury and their playoff hopes ended. The Mercury won 79-73. The Liberty, again, like I said before, I'm just really shocked that the Liberty weren't able to rally enough to win a game for Breanna. Nobody but Sabrina really showed up this game. And to me, Jonquel Jones has the same issue that she had last year. She has to stay in control of her emotions. I do think it was a valid crash out because I don't know if I thought it should have been a jump ball. But she just lets the no calls and stuff like that aren't really in her control kind of get under her skin. And when a team is able to get to you mentally like that, you've already lost the game. And to me, that felt like that was kind of the thing that, to me last year, like that was kind of an issue for her as well. So this year, I think that was just one of the things that like kind of finally caught up to her and the team. And I think that there's kind of a bigger conversation to be had here as well, because the Liberty had the biggest players on the floor, but they weren't doing a lot of things. Like they weren't boxing out. They were missing free throws. Like they had a lot of other things going on there. But to have like the biggest players on the floor and only have 7 rebounds after the first quarter is absolutely insane. Like they were really out there getting hoed by people that were 4 and 7 inches shorter than them. And I find that crazy. And again, people were saying that, oh, it's because Stewie's injured, but Stewie should not be the only person who's willing to box out and get rebounds. Like there were moments when the Mercury were getting 3 and 4 rebounds on a possession. And it's just like, girl, can somebody do something? Like, do y'all want to win at all? Like, you act like you've been here. Like, act like you want to win. Like, this was insane. But anyways, Breanna went out there, like I said, and dropped 30 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and was 8 of 17 from the field. Sabrina gave you 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Jonquel had 3 points, 8 rebounds, was 1 of 10 from the field and kept shooting too. And here's the thing. I understand that you want to have, faith in your teammate and everything, but Jonquel was hanging around the perimeter way too much. She needs to be imposing her will in the paint, and she wasn't really doing that. And then she was taking some threes that it was just like, girl, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Drive in the paint, pass the ball. I don't know. But why are we doing that? But like I said, this is a bigger issue to like some of the centers in the league. Like Jonquel in particular in this playoffs, like Emma having 0 points. Brittany Griner, like not even being playable in the playoffs. Like we have to have a serious conversation about some of the centers in this league. Like even the one from Dallas, Tierra McCowan. I like her, but it's like these players are so tall. Like they should be cooking these players right now. Like they should be cooking. And they're not. They're not. There has to be like a bigger conversation that's had here because a lot of these centers, like they're not showing up. Like they're not playing well. Like, and I have some other names, but I don't even want to mention them right now because I don't want to come off like I don't want to be somebody who's just judging. Okay, that's not me. That's not me. But there is something that has to be said about some of these centers that are in the league. Like it's like, girl, you're a center, but you're not even like you don't even putting in the work. You're not even putting in the work. You're not acting like you want to be here. You're not acting like you want the check. Y'all have got to lock in. But that's neither here nor there. I ain't seen Kalani Brown in a minute. Where is she? Did she play? Anyways, back to what we were talking about. For the Mercury, Satu had 23 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and was 6 of 14 from the field. Alyssa Thomas had 20 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 steals, and was 7 of 18 from the field. Sammy Whitcomb gave you 13 points. Kalia Copper had 12 points, 9 rebounds. As stated previously, the Mercury will be facing off with the Lynx, and we will have our prediction analysis a little bit later on in the episode. But now we can finally discuss the final series, which is Storm versus Aces. For game 1, the Aces beat the Storm 102-77. I watched this game on live, and like to say that the Storm looked really bad, that would kind of be an understatement. It was like almost unbelievable how badly they were playing. And I had said previously that I thought like the Storm could beat the Aces if they wanted to. Like they were going to be the ones who, kind of decided and determined that. And this game, this first one, they were off to a very rough start. The Aces were blocking their shots left and right. They even ended up bouncing one off of Dominique Malonga's head. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was getting real disrespectful watching that game. It was getting real disrespectful. When the game was over, people's reactions to like Dominique Malonga's play this game was kind of like, people were like, oh, she should have been playing better. She shouldn't be in the game, XYZ. And I was kind of like, people are kind of doing a lot because at the time I thought they were asking a lot of Dom because it's her first like playoff game at the end of the day, right? Like she's 19. This is her first time. Like she playing against a 3-time MVP, 2-time, or was it 3-time? 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Like, girl, what do you want her to do with that? You know what I'm saying? She ended up playing very well in game 2 and 3, but I still kind of stick by what I said. Like, people were asking a lot of her, and like she showed up and she played well. I think she had a double-double in game 2. But like the reaction of that first game, like, girl, what else did you want her to do? But anyways, I really liked that she stayed in the game for game 1. And I think that it's going to be very helpful next season if they end up in the playoffs because, I think it's important to kind of play through rough games and to play through like, just like this game was kind of just out of hand in that general sense. So the fact that, they trusted her enough to keep playing through, the tough parts, I felt like that was a good sign. The Storm were outscored for every single quarter. And I was honestly just in disbelief because while like we know what the Aces can do and that they're capable of winning this matchup in particular, it was just very shocking to see the Storm play this badly. We'll talk about the stats. Gabby, this was her best game of the series, and she was kind of the only player who like really like played well, okay, this game. She had 16 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 8 of 13 from the field. Skylar had 12 points. Dominique Malonga had 12 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 steals. She even had a double-double this game, despite everything. But Erica Wheeler had 10 points, and Nneka Ogwumike had 11 points and 8 rebounds. For the Aces, watching this game, it just felt like everything was clicking for them. Notably, like, they just had a really great night from 3. Asia gave you 29 points, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and was 10 of 18 from the field. Jackie had 18 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 4 steals, and was 6 of 9 from the field. Jewel Lloyd gave you 14 points, was 5 of 9 from the field. Dana Evans had 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists. And Alyssa Smith had 11 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks, and was 4 of 6 from the field. For game 2, the Storm beat the Aces in honestly low-key, unpredictable, but predictable for me. Game 2, the Storm beat them 86-83, and I predicted this comeback win. If not, I manifested this win for them because in like the third quarter, I tweeted, I was like, girl, the Storm, you got one more quarter to turn things around, okay? You got one more, and I believe that you can do it. And they did just that. The Storm stuck with them throughout the game. The third quarter was a bit rough for them. I think they went down by like 10 plus points. But they were able to get some stops and make the Aces take some tough shots. And then they were able to outscore them, and they made a good push in the fourth. I feel like this game was very important for future opponents of the Aces, just because I feel like everything has been clicking for them lately. Like, obviously they had like that 16 or 17 game win streak, and even like now, like everything is just really clicking for them. Like they figured out everything, and it's kind of like watching them play basketball right now. It's like poetry in motion in a way. But I think that this game kind of helped show the Aces can have lapses, whether it's on defense or you can pressure their offense and really like, contest shots and make it hard for them. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how these next two teams are going to be playing the Aces, because I'm pretty positive they'll be beating the Fever. And if they don't, it's about to be some type of witchcraft. Okay, know that. But the Storm were down 10 with 4 minutes and 40 seconds left in the quarter. And to me, this kind of felt like one of Ezzy's best defensive performances this season. And the Aces had a 12-point lead with like 3 minutes and 11 seconds left. But in the fourth quarter and around that time, Erica Wheeler was able to cut the deficit to 7 points for Seattle. Then later on, cut it to 3. Dominique got back in the game with 6 minutes left on the clock and defended Asia very well, was contesting all of her shots and helped get stops. The Storm were able to speed the Aces up, and they had a lot of offensive lapses this quarter. A few out-of-character decisions were kind of made, like Jackie with the defensive foul. I thought that was definitely a momentum shift for her. And then there were some turnovers, some poor shot selection. And I don't really know if it was poor shot selection or if it was just well-contested shots, but it was like one of those. And then also, I think they had some missed free throws as well. And then Erica Wheeler hit a big shot. And then after that, like Erica just kind of continuously kept hitting big shot after big shot this game. Skylar also hit some big shots as well later on in the game. And Dom took the shot to tie the game with 31 seconds left on the clock. She hit a big free throw for the and one play. And I believe they said that she was the youngest player to have a double-double in the playoffs. And then during the timeout after the play where Dom had hit the free throw, you could tell that the Aces kind of knew that they had let this game slip away. And since their win streak, we haven't really seen that from them. They were kind of like, you could really tell that they were kind of like upset. And then after that timeout, Chelsea Gray had a costly turnover, and they were just never got the chance to create anything after that point. And I believe the Storm hit another shot after that. But good win from the Storm. For the Aces, stats-wise, Jackie gave you 25 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and Asia gave you 21 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, was 7 of 12 from the field, missed some free throws as well. Jewel Lloyd gave you 13 points, was 4 of 9 from the field, and Alyssa Smith gave you 7 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals. Also, I just remembered this, like talking about this. I have this video that I made on TikTok about why I think Nafisa Collier is MVP. So I'm going to link it down below. If you want to check it out, feel free to. I was listing off like a lot of different things, and when we're having the conversation about comparison and everything, like I think it's very important. So I'm going to link that one below. And then I'll probably also echo those sentiments next week because I'm pretty sure MVP is getting announced tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, for the Storm, Skylar gave you 26 points, 7 assists, 2 steals, and was 10 of 20 from the field. Nneka had a much better game. She had 24 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. Erica Wheeler had 11 points and 3 assists. Dominique Malonga had 11 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. And also, I felt like I really wanted it to be known from my notes that Brittany Sykes played 26 minutes and only had 4 points this game. And she was doing a lot of complaining with the refs from this game and the previous one, but had 0 points in the first game as well. I do not think that she's going to be on this team next season. Like, allegedly, there was some beef and rumblings of beef happening with the coaching staff and, amongst players and things like that, allegedly, for game 3 or during game 3. I think she had like a good stretch of minutes in game 3, but I think some people on Twitter and stuff have been saying, like, I think some of the players or some of the coaching staff probably didn't, trust her that much to keep her in the game, which I think is fair and valid. Like, Brittany Sykes, and I think this goes to like the Mystics as well, like their fan base, because a lot of people were really pushing for her to be an all-star. And I think that she's a great player. And when she was on the Mystics, definitely like their best player. You can easily say that. But also the way that she gets shots, and I've said this before, but I just want to echo it here. The way that she plays the game a lot of times is getting contact around the rim. And the Storm are not a team that gets a lot of calls, if any. And so, it just becomes a thing of you've got to be able to adjust your game to how the game is being called or to how your team is called. And she was just never really able to do that this season. And I try my best not to call people free throw merchants, but she kind of was in a way. A lot of her points that she got from the Mystics were from free throws. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's also like, if that's how you won for one team, that's not always like going to translate somewhere else. And you have to be able to adjust your game and figure out how to, be of service to your team. And unfortunately, she just wasn't able to do that with the Storm. And because of that, and I understand like it's frustrating to not get calls and to want to play in big moments, because she did come to this team to play and to be, on a contender and to contend for a championship. But it's also like you do have to sometimes like understand that like, like if your level of play isn't up there and we need to win a game, like we're not putting you out there, and you have to kind of trust that the coach has, the team's best interest in mind all of the time. And that sometimes their best interest doesn't always involve you. And again, that's like a tough thing, I'm sure, to like come to terms with. But I don't think that she'll be returning here. I do not. But as for the stats, Nneka had 16 points, 9 rebounds. Erica Wheeler had 16 points, 5 assists. Skylar Diggins had 13 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals. This was just a very low-scoring game. I think both teams made it hard for the other one. But I think the Storm just they played well. However, this game was kind of just tough for them. I will say that I think Erica Wheeler, like, she played so well for this team throughout the entirety of the season. Like, not just this game, but she hit some big shots to put them back in the game. I think the last shot, she just didn't get a good look at it. It wasn't like she didn't get the role that she needed on it. But realistically, this team was never really going to go further than the first round of the playoffs. I do think that Noelle will be out of a job next season, just because it has been like 2 seasons of, being a first round exit. And even though I don't think that that's like 100% her fault, people are definitely pointing fingers about, the other drama that happened this season about trades and people being unhappy in post-game interviews. So, unfortunately, Noelle, it might have been your last one. I know that some of the players did have good things to say about their experience playing in Seattle, but also I believe there were rumblings allegedly that during a not post-game presser, but in the postseason, little team interview thing, Lexi Brown told the media that she doesn't want to take questions. She just wants to make it clear that she was fully healthy. And she said that she was available for around 40 of the 44 games this season, and she felt she was never given a fair opportunity, and that she wants it to be known that she was healthy. So I saw that, and, I went through some of the replies. It was a tweet, and, it's a lot of mixed feelings. A lot of people are like, she's not going to be on the roster next season, and it has nothing to do with health. And I think that people have kind of been hard on her. I also, there was another response to that tweet saying, because the time she was given an opportunity, she was just never really a scoring threat. And then there was one tweet in particular that I did want to kind of discuss. Somebody said Lexi's a better shooter than your average gym rat, of course, but even at her healthiest, her shot is neither consistent or reliable. And then I think there was another one that was kind of like, she's not reliable or a consistent shooter and doesn't play defense. Her time in the league may be up. And, there was different things like that. And I'm not going to do too much because those are other people's opinions. Those aren't necessarily mine. But with the Sparks last season, her health was more it was kind of an up and down thing. And it was something that she was figuring out. And, I am happy for her that she was able to have a healthy season. It's just that the way that this team has operated last season and this season, I never really saw Noelle being somebody who turned to her bench because that's just not really the kind of coach that she's kind of shown herself to be. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I definitely think if she didn't think that the people on the bench were going to be difference makers, then that was her opinion. And, at the end of the day, she's the coach, so you have to go with that. And it's not always going to be fair. But it's also at the end of the day, I don't know if Lexi has had a real opportunity to kind of be the player that she believes and that maybe her fans believe that she's capable of being. But it's also when she did have opportunities, because at the beginning of the season, I did see her play a couple of times. You have to play your way onto the floor. You had to play hard in practice, and you have to, if you want to see playing time. And to a certain extent, it is obviously the coach wasn't seeing, what she needed to see from you in order to play you. And it's if she had played you, and maybe your shots weren't falling, and maybe you weren't playing, the defense that they needed you to play, it's well, what's the point of having you on the floor? And if I know the kind of player that you've shown me to be in practice, why would I go and put you out on the floor? So I'm up and down about it. I do think that Lexi needs to go to a place where, she has the opportunity to kind of play her game, and we need to see what she has left in the tank and if she's a player who's going to be in this league. And at the same time, I don't necessarily fault Noelle for not playing her bench because I don't really think that they had a strong bench at all. And I think that that was a very big issue going into last year's offseason. And it's the exact same issue going into this year's offseason. But also, she's not the GM. So I don't know. I'm up and down on it. Feel free to let me know your thoughts. But back to game 3 for the Aces. Asia had an amazing performance. She had 38 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and was 14 to 26 from the field. Jackie had 14 points and 4 steals and was 6 of 12 from the field. Chelsea Gray had 12 points, 8 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and was 5 of 8 from the field. And they didn't really need anybody else to really come up big that game. Those 3 did a great job, and they held down the fort, and they got the win for the team. Lastly, We're going to discuss the semifinals predictions. Now we'll talk about the semifinals predictions, and you guys can be on your way. For the Lynx versus Mercury series, I definitely think the Mercury they're gonna get one. They might get one. They don't need to get two. That's what I know for certain. This is gonna be best of 5. So, they have to get 3 wins. I think the Lynx can win it. I think they can win the first 2. They might lose the 3rd game, but they're definitely taking the 4th. So I think it's Lynx in 4. I also think that this is going to be an interesting matchup because when the Lynx played the Sun last year, who at the time had DeWanna Bonner and had Alyssa Thomas and some other great players, like they put up a good fight, but Nafisa was definitely getting her way in the paint, and I know that AT is going to be the one guarding her, so I'm interested to see, whatever Nafisa has added to her game in the off season. I'm interested to see how they match up. I think AT was like, the Lynx haven't seen us fully healthy. They haven't seen this version of the team. I'm going to be honest with you. I low-key don't think the Lynx need to see this version of them. I think the Lynx got it. I do. I think they got it. The Mercury are no scrubs, but I do think that the Lynx defense is definitely going to pressure them to be at their best. And I'm interested to see, how Satu and how Kalia Copper and how some of the other players play taking shots under duress of the Lynx defense. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. I have the Lynx winning it. I also just got word via Twitter because somebody did call me, so I was scrolling on Twitter and I was disrupted from the podcast for a second. The Lynx are going to be without Dejanay Carrington for the remainder of the season. I think they said that she has a mid-foot sprain. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is super unfortunate and really sucks because we really need her defense. And I think that her defense really which again, not to say that I don't think that I think that the Lynx aren't going to win it or anything, but I definitely think that adding her to the roster mid-season, it really made me feel a lot more comfortable in our perimeter defense. Like, all I know now is that Bridget and Kayla are going to have to be on their and Courtney and Natisha are going to have to be at their very best. That's all that means to me, and I think that they can do that. It just is unfortunate because it would have been so great to have the defender that Dejanay is coming off the bench in a potential matchup with the Aces, especially because so many of their guards are good and they're shifty, and I feel like Dejanay really can keep up with them. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, this is not the news we needed right now. It's not the news we needed right now, but I think that, they can rally around each other and they can still get this win. They can still get this championship. I hate that it's going to be without Dejanay, but they can get this win if they want it. Okay, so I got Lynx in 4. And hopefully they're going to the championship to face the Aces. Now, to discuss Aces versus Fever, I'm interested because I know that the Aces were not expecting to be playing the Fever. And to me, it's giving cakewalk because I think that Asia and Alyssa are definitely, and even Cheyenne Parker Tyus, those are definitely centers that are better than the post players that they'll be playing for the Fever. But also, this Fever team is very gritty, and they have already done more than we ever expected them to do. But I do think that Jackie and Jewel and other guards on this team can keep up with Kelsey Mitchell's scoring. So to me, it's really just going to be up to the other people. So not necessarily Aaliyah. And also, I don't think that Aaliyah is going to be getting her way in the paint either. And the same with Natasha Howard. And I think that was again, the thing that kind of made that Dreams versus Fever series not really super competitive, because I was expecting the battle of bigs, and I'll be expecting that in this matchup, but I don't think that AB or Natasha will be doing what they did previously in the first series. Good luck to them. But again, I do think that they can have good games. It's just going to be about what the other people are doing. Like, Kelsey Mitchell's going to do what she does. AB and Natasha Howard got to stay out of foul trouble, and they got to stay on the floor. But it's also going to be how many points is Lexi giving me. It's also going to be how much is Odyssey Sims giving me. So I'm interested to see it. You know, the Aces also have Dana Evans, who comes off the bench, and she performs well. So we'll see what happens, but I think I have the Aces in 4. I can see that. Aces in 4. Now, if it goes to 5, I'm not above it. I'm not above it. I would love for my team to get a little more rest, but we're going to see how this thing shakes out. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me through this episode because I know it was long. I'm going to be editing this for who knows how long, but I appreciate you for listening and checking it out. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me who you think's going to be winning the semifinals matchups and why. Tell me your thoughts on some of the teams who didn't make it, okay? Just share your thoughts. Share your opinions. I'm always listening, and I'll see you guys. Bye.